A project starts simple, a clear, direct goal. But within weeks, it can feel like the meetings, the reports, and the approvals have become a bigger job than the project itself. Why does the work around the work always seem to expand? The cause isn't found in people's habits, it's built into the structure of the organization itself. The system is designed to behave this way.
To really get this, we have to start with the primary task. So let's imagine a team is assigned to build a new piece of software. This is what we could call direct work. It's the activity that actually creates the final product. But of course, that task never happens in a vacuum, does it? Very quickly, it needs meetings to get everyone on the same page, status reports for leadership, budget approvals from the finance department, and all kinds of coordination. This is the support structure, the work that makes the direct work possible.
So here's the real question. Why does this support structure seem to have a life of its own? Even when the goal is to be more efficient, this web of other tasks just tends to get bigger. And the reason for that isn't about the people, it's about the fundamental design of the organization.
The key to understanding this whole dynamic is to see that every single activity inside an organization really falls into one of two main buckets. On one side, you have direct work. This is the activity that results in the thing you sell. On the other side, you have support work. And it's basically everything else that has to happen for the direct work to get done. Now, a huge chunk of this support work has nothing to do with any specific project. It's just the work required to run the business and keep the lights on day to day. These are the foundational costs. Think about things like the rent for the office building, salaries for managers and administrative staff, insurance payments, or fees for lawyers and auditors. These things aren't tied to making one specific product. They're tied to the organization's very existence. And it's not just the internal work. There's another whole category of support that's focused outward, all the activity that's needed to connect the company's products with its customers.
This is where you find things like advertising campaigns, the salaries for the sales and marketing teams, travel expenses, and even the cost of the packaging that the final product goes into.
Okay, so we have all these different types of support work, and they all generate costs. But here's where it gets really interesting. Not all of those costs behave in the same way. They actually respond very differently depending on how much business the company is doing. We can pretty much group them into two types. You've got your constant costs, which stay the same month after month, no matter how much the company is producing or selling. And then you have fluctuating costs, which, as the name suggests, go up and down, right along with the level of business activity. To really see this distinction in action, just imagine what happens during a slow period, when the organization is making or selling less than usual. Well, during that slowdown, the constant costs, they don't budge. The rent for the office still has to be paid, management salaries are still going out, and those insurance premiums are exactly the same. But on the other hand, those fluctuating costs will naturally start to drop. If you're selling fewer products, for example, your shipping costs are going to go down. It's a direct relationship. So you've got this mix of direct work, support work, constant costs, fluctuating costs, and all this complexity creates a really powerful pressure inside the organization. In order to survive, it has to be able to measure and understand all of it. And this need for financial visibility, it creates a whole new layer of work all by itself. The reason why is pretty simple. Every single thing that happens, whether it's an engineer writing code or an accountant paying a utility bill, has a cost attached to it.
And that forces the organization to constantly ask itself one single, all-important question. Is the whole enterprise financially viable?
It all boils down to the most fundamental math in business. The money coming in from sales has to be greater than the total cost of everything going out, and that includes both the direct costs and all of that support work. Now, to manage that delicate balance, organizations have a very strong incentive to build systems that track absolutely everything. Every expense needs to be categorized, analyzed, and understood to maintain financial control. And here we arrive at the core of the issue. The very act of tracking, measuring, and reporting, all that accounting and financial analysis, well, that itself is just another form of support work. This creates a perfect self-reinforcing cycle. As an organization gets bigger, it adds support work just to manage the new scale. Then, to keep financial control over that growing support structure, it has to create even more support work just to measure and manage it. Each layer of support tends to generate another layer of measurement, and the loop continues.
So what can look like inefficiency from the outside is actually the system operating exactly as it was designed.
It isn't optimized for simplicity. It's optimized for financial visibility and control, a goal that requires a complex support structure as a necessary trade-off.